So it's the start of a new week, and yesterday, well, late last night, Truda and Phoenix came home. As many of you may know, Phoenix was in School of Rock he finished about 18 months ago, and he was in there for a year playing lead guitar, which I think, as an 11-year-old guitarist sort of thrashing out some big riffs in front of 1,000 people every night, I really can't imagine more of a kind of a dream scenario, or maybe that's just my vicarious life. But they came home last night, and there'd been a huge finale, and there must have been at least 150 kids who'd been in the show over the years, all appeared on stage together in a finale, and they were singing, and they sat and watched the show from the circle, and apparently it was a pretty raucous thing, and I was sad I couldn't be there. And he was absolutely buzzing. He was so excited to have connected with his friends again and to get back on stage and play his guitar a little bit, and see how some of the people had really grown in what they were doing. And I was reminded of something he said right at the start that really made me laugh at the time. But it's quite an interesting question he asked. So he'd been through a long audition process. It took about 6 months of kind of coaching and auditioning and various things that went on, and some processes they had in place called Rock School. And it eventually came around to the formal auditions again, and he went through those auditions and he got on the show. And there was a short period between being confirmed in the show and getting his contract, and there was a 2 or 3 week period, and then he would start rehearsals, and he would literally move to London at the age of 11 and live in a house in London and be part of that for the next 18 months. But there was this little gap between getting his contract and being in the show, being in rehearsals. And he was sitting there talking to us one day, and he looked wistfully and said, "I wonder when I'll get my big break." And it really made me laugh, because I guess it's all relative. There are, for some people, and I put myself in that position, to go through that process and to be confirmed as getting a part, having worked so hard through auditions and having seen, literally hundreds of kids to start off with competing for those 2 or 3 roles, and to see that whittled down, hundreds to tens to maybe 3 or 4, and then it's suddenly there's one of you being picked. But what happened was he was comparing himself. So there was somebody else in the show who was also one of the guitarists, and he had incredible success on social media since about the age of 9, I think it was, and he was getting literally hundreds of millions of views of his videos on YouTube and Facebook. He had one video that went up around about that time, and in the first weekend it got 95 million views. And we were talking about it in the space of eating dinner. It got another 3 million views. And this is a kid that was aged 11 years old. And that was quite incredible. And so what Phoenix had got caught up in inadvertently, at a very tender age, shall we say, is this idea that you can compare yourself to others, that somehow success or getting what you want or getting a big break was all about, those numbers, about those big numbers. And yet, for many people, Phoenix absolutely had his big break by getting in the show to start off with. And, it's something that he's let go of, and it's something that it doesn't seem to bother him nowadays. But it is very easy as a human to look out and see other people doing things and thinking, oh, that's better than me, or I wish I could do that, or, why are they getting the results I'm not getting? So I think underneath all of that, if I had a lesson for myself in this and something that I would focus on, it's about consistency. If you consistently show up, then things can happen. If you build it, they will come. And I guess that's partly what these films are about. It's really for me to practice my consistency. So that was really my reflection for today. When will I get my big break?